everyone. Welcome to Friday Night in the Homestead. Tonight's topic is, how big is enough of a garden? All right. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. And we got a couple of people here on our panel here. But before we get going with them, I want to talk to everybody in the side chat. And let's see, the first one in here was... I think Josh came in first, and then Ray made a comment hours ago. Duncan 1900 Homestead came in. CR Creative Redundancy. Garden Girl, Suburban Hillbilly. Prep for Eternity Homestead, formerly known as Country Homestead Preacher. Stringfield Ridge Farm is here. Hey, Teresa. Thorhaven Farm. Sorry, just jumped on me here. Okay, everyone's talking. Emma 3010 is here. Everyone's talking. Caitlin Strains in the house. Shady Hill Homestead. Mary Beth Smith. Yep, everyone's chatting back and forth. And Tina Weber. Year Grinding 19. The Autistic Prepper 1. All righty, and as more come in, I'll stop. Hi. So those of you who haven't seen him for a while on my channel here, below me here is Ron, the Green Wizard. He a great guy, great source of information, and so we're going to be covering some things here. Cosmic Cultivators just came in. All right, so let's slip over here, and I got just a little short one here, and I'm just going to go on this. So, how big is enough of a garden? And what the second part of the question is, to sustain you and your family for at least a year and a half without going to the grocery store. All right. Can you do it all in your backyard with raised planter beds and vertical growing? Do you need a big field? Are you cramped in a small space and you just got to make do with whatever you can and try to get your neighbors to grow gardens here? And this looks like several neighbors in a row here are growing gardens. And are you specialized in certain things and they're specialized in other things so you get maximum production out so you guys can trade? And are you using the high tunnels and stuff and the anti-frost stuff to extend your growing season? Are you doing things by hand most of the time? You may have a tractor to do initial work, but are you doing most of your turning over by hand with greenhouses? Does everybody chip in and work on what you have? So is it size or is it production that you need to worry about? Is what you are currently doing, is it sustainable? And that's what I have, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about here. And just catching up on the chat here was, the Swafford Homestead came in. And did I say hi to Mary Beth? If I didn't, hi, Mary Beth. If I did, you got an extra hi. All right. When Courtney gets Fred to bed, Courtney should be joining us up here too. There, one of the things that I am want to try to get across here. All right, Ray currently is in an apartment, and he's only growing he can do is what he's growing there in his apartment. Of course, he's also raising quail in his apartment. He's going to be moving in a couple of years here up to Alaska, so he's got acreage up there. Unfortunately, he can't get it prepped while he's down here. So when he goes up there, he's going to be hitting it from scratch. Tim Fergal's in the house. Hey, Tim. And Ron has all sorts of knowledge and information. In fact, I have his book. I've read it, I think, about 4 or 5 times now. Funny as heck and informational loaded.
Gil, if I can real quick, let me give a little background about me, guys.
Mm-hmm.
I did go through Job Corps when I was younger. I studied horticulture up in Clearfield, Utah. I am certified by the Department of Labor as a class 3, which is the highest class that you can get in this certification, as a landscape management technician. I do have schooling and knowledge in regards to horticulture. I want to make that perfectly clear.
Yeah, I wasn't saying you're not lacking in knowledge, but you're going to be lacking in time once you get up there.
Yeah, I'm going to be under the gun when I get up to Alaska. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to check something here. We'll just get it ready here. One of the things that I've noticed a lot more homesteaders are talking about are putting in raised planter beds. Now, some have just all they're doing is raising the side, and it's still got the earth down below, but they're raising it so they're not bending over, breaking their backs trying to garden. They do it for ease. Some are using the totally like the IBC totes. Like I have some of mine are IBC totes. Others I've taken the totes, cut it off, and put it on the ground so that it goes down in beneath. The only reason why I'm using the IBC totes is because I have a big problem with morning glory here choking out the plants. So I got some stuff in the IBC totes, but I dumped those out, and I got a big, huge monster compost pile here going. And I'll turn the soil in, and I'll put more wood in the bottom of my IBC totes, and do like a mini hugelkultur and pile the dirt back in it with all the friendly worms and everything else, and keep everything nice and happy. And as I grow in it for the year, then I'll dump it out next year and then do it again. But I got a big hugelkultur mound out here that I've been working on with the tractor, just piling up stuff, and it's cooking, it's growing. I mean, I go digging in there, and worms are everywhere on it. So that's what I'm doing.
I gotta give a shout out to Emma. More power to you, fellow Nebraskan. Love you. Gotta love Nebraska peeps. I gotta always shout out to them. That's my home state. Husker Red, baby.
There we go. And make sure I pull it. Okay. Yeah. All right. So I got that ready for Ron when he's ready for that to be brought up. So how much land do you need to grow enough food to keep your family fed and happy and thriving for a year and a half? And a lot of that has to do with what you're planting, soil conditions, how well you keep the soil fed so that soil can feed you. And so there's a lot of different things. All right, Thorhaven put a comment here. I'm going to put it up here. We do a combination of raised beds and regular beds. Our soil is all sand, like a sandbox, so we have to keep adding to it, but using raised beds in the greenhouse till the soil is rocking. So until they get the soil built up, they're doing the raised beds. And Emma says, "I wish I had a security fence." Sounds like not Emma. I'm saying I garden girl. It sounds like she's up there in northern western Idaho. Like she's got encroaching wildlife into her garden.
Barbed wire, baby. Barbed wire.
Well, barbed wire ain't gonna stop no raccoon or possum or something
Chicken
like
wire.
that, or something like that. Hey, I've seen possums and raccoons go through chicken wire. So they'll chew on it and work their way through it. So Ron, where would you?
After you've said all of this stuff wrong, now you want to ask me a question?
No, now I don't want to ask. I want to give you a run and go here. What would you say a person needs to worry about for their garden first? What is probably the most important thing?
The organic life in the soil. Without the support of the organic life in the soil, you might as well go to the NPK system and do nothing but feed it nitrogen and eat the same stuff that's in the grocery store. That's the problem. Per the United States study, as of June 22nd of 2021, an average family of 4 needs a garden of 20 foot by 40 foot to be sustainable. What they're not telling you and what they're not going into is everybody's new unhealthy lifestyles. They're not eating food that is Mother Nature mineral rich. They're not adding in the aspects of a predator diet where we are out there adding meat into the diet and hunting. So yes, a simple 20 by 40 garden, it could be rocking. It could do a whole lot if you're into your, and it's not crop rotation. It was another word, Gil, where, and it's just not coming off the tip of my tongue for some reason.
Companion planting?
No, not the Three Sister one. It's the one where you're doing the early spring harvesting, and then you're doing the summer harvesting, and then you're doing the fall harvesting, because the different plants grow in different seasons, and they also grow at different speeds. Right. So if you're working your garden, and this is where when you said, well, we got to get into crop rotation, and I about lost my mind over here. It's not crop rotation if you're sustainably running all of these plants consecutively, one after the other, as to what grows in that season.
Yeah.
You're also not adding in your edible, your edible landscape. What about your apple trees? What about your blackberry bushes? What about your, okay, you got to add all of this stuff in. So for the United States study to come out and say, well, you only need this much space and you can feed a family of 4. Well, yeah, but not if they're all vegetarians. They're going to wipe that out the first day because all of it is on the NPK process.
Yeah.
So what do you actually need? You need the right garden plan for the type of soil conditions you're dealing with. You need to know what those soil conditions are and know how to best prepare them and improve them. Now, we'll sidetrack real quick and just look at the sandy soil that a lot of people I hear complain about. The other one's clay, but sandy soils. Now, Howie's not here to represent, but his pathway soil gardening is the answer to that. When you're running hugelkultur and you're composting in the ground right alongside it or with it, you're improving those soil conditions and you're attracting the clay, you're attracting that organic matter into those pathways, and you're starting to remedy your own problem and pushing the sand away. Sand is great for a bunch of different things, but it will not firmly support an organic life form that lives on a very, very thin film of mucus that it produces. It washes away too easily. It would much rather be in topsoil, obviously. But guaranteeing those conditions is going to be a matter of work in sandy situations. Bringing in topsoil, I don't recommend it. You don't know what's in that soil. You don't know what kind of conditions you're coming from. If you have to do that, if you're forced into something like that, hey, go get sunflowers. It's going to detoxify that soil in one season, and everything will come out of it, from gunpowder to heavy metals. The toxins will be gone. The sunflowers will soak it up. But what are we going to do when the shelves are empty now? You know, that's your question. It's planning your garden. Not only are we looking at where the sunlight is, where the tall plants should go, where the short plants should go, and where this should go, and we need to know what's going to grow the fastest and produce the most vegetables, the most this, the most that, as soon as possible, as many as possible. When the shelves are bare, we need as much as we can get our hands on.
and
and looking the
naturally as
opposite
possible.
direction and thinking that the NPK process, and the farmers are already reporting that the NPK process is already overwhelming them in cost. There's a better way. There's a far better way, and it's laying right there underneath all your trees. The minerals are right there in the leaves. We can do so much better with so much less.
Not to mention contacting your local farmer, your local rancher, cow dung, horse dung, all that shit, that byproduct from these farms
You're right.
are more than healthy. I would rather order, tons of cow manure than tons of topsoil, because I know that manure is going to break down a lot better and have a lot more minerals to it than that topsoil that I order.
Yeah.
More than likely. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I just put Ron's channel, The Green Wizard, in there. I put Howie's Food Forest Permaculture's link in there as well. So if you're not subscribed to either of those two channels, please, for your own sake, subscribe to both Food Forest Permaculture and Green Wizard. Use these links. They'll take you right to their channel. You can learn a lot from these guys as far as ways to get your garden to produce better.
Look, when I first got started, and following in a sense, and don't take this the wrong way, but following Fat Man's training, the NPK process training to get his licenses. I was weed master on my street. I could make any weed grow exponentially. It didn't matter what weed killer I put down. Oh my God, I was the king. It didn't matter. I spent thousands and none of it worked. Absolutely none of it. When I returned to nature, on the other hand, and I took 10 tomato plants on the NPK process and barely got 3 or 4 tomatoes off of each plant, and I started getting 600 pounds off of each plant.
See, I got lucky. I really got lucky with my instructor. My instructor, I study in Clearfield, Utah. And if you guys don't know, Clearfield is part of it's a desert. It's a high desert. Okay, so that means most of the moisture that you're going to get is from the snowfall in the winter. Now, he was a good old Mormon, 2-3 wives type Mormon. So he was very much into, look, what is nature telling you that you need to help it with? He was more into nature, learning from nature itself than from adding chemicals. He did not like the addition of chemicals of any type, way, shape, or form. So I learned a lot from learning, just watching nature and how things grow naturally.
Yeah. One of the people I was associated with in California, Kathy Eccles, she was the head of the horticulture department at Diablo Valley College for years and years. Her number one advice to people is, don't get Miracle-Gro. That's giving steroids to your plants, and it's not going to grow properly.
What? Now, wait a minute. That's not 100% true. Mother Nature has provided a steroid that you can put on your plants. I even recommend you put it on
an artificial steroid.
Okay.
A chemical steroid that is, produced, hey, just look at some of these weightlifters out they get after a while. And she said, don't use Miracle-Gro. It's artificial soil and it's not good. And she would have a list of things to do. Here's how you build your soil. You don't add all these chemicals to it. Fish emulsion, cow manure, rabbit manure, and she all the fun things that you talk about some too, Ron, about taking care of clay and breaking down the clay so clay becomes viable soil.
Yeah, I was waiting for her to come back from putting the baby down to bring that one up.
Yeah. So
I'm a
different
different
for eternity. You're 100% correct.
I'm of
And
a
I
different
preach that
philosophy, though.
constantly, that crop rotation is bad. And it is. And I can tell you why. And a lot of people are going to disagree with me.
So, Ron, I want to pick up on something on that crop rotation. And one of the things for everybody here in the thing is, all right, nobody thinks about growing wheat.
Okay.
Because basically, if there's no bread in the store and you want to make bread, you need to be growing wheat.
Corn.
But wheat has it'll deplete certain things out of the soil, and so you got to, like a lot of the farmers around here do. They'll grow alfalfa one year, potatoes the next year, sugar beets the next year, and I forget what the fourth crop is. And sometimes they'll just let the soil rest the fifth year, and then they'll start over again.
And they run beans.
They'll do a cover crop on the rest year where they put in out the beans and the peas
and alfalfa.
Yeah, and some just let the peas go and everything else go. Then they'll
But again, that same rotation, those beans and the alfalfa and what have you, there's your steroid and there's your nitrogen. They're building up these properties following the government standards of high nitrogen. That's not a healthy plant.
Yeah.
Well, hell, if you want high nitrogen, I got quail poop in the kitchen. I can, or in my dining room, I can give you all the quail poop you want.
There you go. I mean,
I'm of a different philosophy. I do believe there's a quote out there, and it says it's based on religion. Religion is a good thing as long as religion is like a fine whiskey, great in moderation. Everything is great in moderation, Miracle Grow included, if you know how to use it. People want quick results, so they use Miracle Grow like it's growing out of fucking style, and that's wrong. You can use Miracle Grow, but understand that it's just a temporary solution to a long-term problem that you're going to have to address. What was that?
It causes more of the problem.
It can in excess.
Well, no. See, what the problem with this NPK process, and this is just a huge category that I'm putting together when I say the NPK process, and it's all these man-made chemicals coming from the explosives industry back in the 50s. And that's where all of this really started. What do we do with these chemicals? We've got all of this stuff. Well, we're going to force it down somebody's throat because we still want to make our money.
Well, yeah.
These chemicals all contribute to the new problem we have everywhere, and that's clay.
Please don't get me wrong. I'm not a big fan of overdoing it in chemicals. I think the more natural you can go, the better you are. I honestly believe that. Here shortly, I'll be doing videos with my hydroponic system in the apartment. I'm growing cantaloupe, for God's sakes, in the apartment, and watermelon. Things that you don't think you would be able to grow in an apartment. Yes, I'm going to use chemicals, but I'm going to use a natural process too at the same time. You got to learn to balance the two. Man-made is good to a degree, but the thing with man-made is it's probably only going to solve it's going to solve a problem short-term, but the problem itself is long-term. So yes, you're going to need a short-term fix while you work on the long-term.
I can see some people going that route.
See, the issue becomes any of the chemical, we'll just say Miracle Grow. We want to start hammering on that. Any of the Miracle Grow that isn't absorbed by the plant, because it's not absorbed by Mother Nature and it doesn't take it in correctly. It's forced into the plant. Yeah. Any of it that is not taken into the plant ends up sitting dead in the soil. And over time, with runoff, it gets down there and it adds to the compaction. And now you have an increased clay bed and a decreased topsoil bed.
Well, again, that goes back to what I said, in moderation.
Well, this goes with all chemicals. Now, think about this. Jet fuel, diesel exhaust, car exhaust, car wash soap even has chemicals in it that aren't sustainable in your yard. Look at how it burns out alongside the driveway everywhere you wash your car. These things are all contributing factors. So I take all of it as one lump sum. Over time, this stuff gets in and it just destroys. And you end up with this clay problem. I didn't want to get into this until she got into the room.
I'm not sure what Courtney's doing. Dustin was in here for a minute. That's her husband. So that's King Poopa is Courtney's husband. But one of the things that I can see is saying, there's looking at the NPK with being chemical additives. CR said that up in Canada, he's up in Canada, and he tries to use a natural NPK, no chemicals. All right, so this adds nitrogen, so I add that to the soil. Natural, alfalfa, clover, whatever, beans. This adds this to the soil, so I'll put some of this in there, and try to use nature to balance out the nitrogen, phosphorus, and crap.
But that's all incorrect information. That's kind of the point of the book. Mm-hmm. This is misinformation we've all been fed by an industrial complex trying to dump these chemicals. Okay. You have to understand that in the NPK process, and you can back me up on this, Fat Man, in the NPK process, there are only 12 vitamins and minerals involved in it in any way, shape, or form. And that's all you're allowing your plants to have, because you've created a clay bed that the roots can't get into underneath your topsoil. So you're living on only those 12 that they don't necessarily talk about. When you only go by those 12, you're only allowing those 12 into your body. When the body, the human body, and all bodies, all mammals, require 90 minerals in their diet on a daily basis.
Well, with gear
you're not going to get it by eating different plants. You're only going to get different flavors from the same 12 all the time, because the clay isn't releasing the minerals. You can't get through the clay to get to that situation where you're pulling the minerals back out of the clay again. The clay's all locked up by this thin layer of chemical that the roots won't penetrate.
Yeah.
I want to say welcome to whoever Gil just added. I don't know
Laura,
the name.
That's Laura Hedgehog.
It's a hedgehog.
Hedgehog's Homestead.
I don't do faces well, so I know you've been here before, and I've seen you before, so welcome. I want to address gear grinding real quick. Are bone meal, blood meal, and fish meal emulsions good? Yes. Native Americans used to plant their corn with a fish head. That is beautiful nutrients. Anything natural is a hell of a lot better, 1,000 times better than anything that can be made man-made. And I'm the first one to say it. But I'm also the first person to say that in moderation, in proper moderation, man-made chemicals can be used for a short-term fix. If I'm using a man-made chemical, it is because something drastically happened that I need to correct right away to save the plant.
Okay, I want to comment on something though.
Or I can address that directly, but give it a second.
On the blood meal, depending on what type blood meal you're using, because if it's coming from the mass froze there for a second, from the mass production of meat, cattle, pigs, whatever, sometimes that blood meal is contaminated.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And so that's that was a problem in some of the blood meal stuff products that were coming out a few years ago. I'm not sure if it's still going on. Now I put in the chat there NPK. That's correct terminology, not M as in Mary. N as in nitrogen. Okay, so that's how I put that
nitrogen,
in.
Potassium, and phosphorus.
Yeah,
I couldn't remember what phosphorus was.
Yeah. So one of the things that that Kathy Eccles, a friend of our family. I knew Kathy since I was 12 years old. Okay.
Lady.
And so she's always been one of these, as natural as you can for growing stuff. And, and she, like I said, she headed up the horticulture department at Death Valley College and worked with the U.S. Department of Agriculture to allow certain plants to come in from Australia and other areas where they really needed very little water, drought condition plants. After running through tests and stuff and working with people down there to prove these would not be an invasive, I can't even pronounce it.
Invasive.
Yeah, plant. Getting tongue tied here. And my brain is trying to shift gears in the middle, pronouncing the word.
It happened many times to me.
Beginning to talk like Popeye and his mispronunciations.
Well, see, a lot of people sit back and going towards Thor's answer, but to expand on what I'm trying to put out here, a lot of people don't understand and haven't really been paying attention, but they are starting to grow full-size, full-fledged corn crops, what have you, in the desert in Egypt.
Wow.
Full-size farms. Now, you want to talk about drought conditions? Because everybody's wrong. It's got nothing to do with drought conditions that your plants won't grow. It's got everything to do with how they're treating the soil. What they're doing over in Egypt, they're not bringing in truckloads of topsoil. Come on. Yeah, they've got the money, but that's not what they're doing. They're promoting the organic life to be sustainable. They're feeding it the sugar that it needs, because that organic life is water storage. It stores life stores water everywhere it can for itself and for the plants, and it brings back the water that plant demands. That organic life can reach a mile and find a river or find water underground and bring it back. And we're all sitting here dumping chemicals on it that's killing it and stopping it from even trying to exist in our gardens. So when we're looking at a sandbox type yard, and I'm trying to address this, Thor, what you want to do is you want to promote a higher organic life atmosphere. You can do that very simply through hugelkultur. Bury a bunch of trees, twigs, leaves, this, that, the other, right in the garden.
Yeah.
Bury them right there.
That's what I'm
Half
planning
inch,
to do.
2 inches, 3 inches down. That's it. And you're going to give all of that organic life some place to exist and some place to live. Now you got to keep that soil covered to help hold that moisture. But when everybody goes, comes up to me and says, you can't grow like this, I just point at Egypt and go, pay attention. Yes, you can.
Well, it's not only Egypt,
life.
but I was reading an article last night which caught my attention. I believe it was Saudi Arabia that also did the same thing. A complete desert landscape before, and they have transformed it into the most lush vegetative environment you've ever seen in your life. And I was just captivated by it, because by doing the right things, you can do it.
Yeah.
Right. The answers are right here in the guide.
I'll bring it up here in a second.
I wrote this thing for grass because people don't understand, and they're not putting it together. Even though the recipe for the perfect garden and an instant garden is in the end of the book, the very last few pages. Instant garden. Your yard is a direct reflection to the garden. If your yard is garbage, your garden doesn't have the minerals that it needs, and it's not going to have the sustainable organic life. If your yard is lush and your yard is rocking it, it's going to be able to provide the minerals. See, one of the things we talk about in gardening is the Don't take a rototiller to it. Don't turn that bed over. Don't do this. You don't want sunlight getting into that soil once it gets going. Putting a little hole in it to drop a plant, that's one thing. But when you're talking about going in and spading huge acreage and what have you and allowing that sunlight in, you're killing all the organic life. You're killing all sorts of beneficial things in the soil just by exposing it to sunlight.
Yeah.
You can add all the things and all the nutrients and everything you need in your garden right around it in the grass.
Ooh,
you can use one section of your yard 10 feet away and put yourself a compost pile in the ground and be ground composting, and everything and all of the nutrients that are over there, all of that microbial life is going to go over and get and bring it back to the plants that ask for it in exchange for sugar. That's all the microbial life wants, is that plant produced sugar, and it will go out over a mile and bring it back. All you got to do is provide the places for it. So when you take care of your garden, take care of your yard right next to it the same way. When you go through and you aerate your grass, add the minerals that you need. Add whatever, whether it be compost, don't bring stuff in. Use what you have. Use what Mother Nature's provided.
So Gil posted from Albany Mountain Homestead, what do you do if termites move in?
Termites. Very specific vermin. And oh my God, let me think.
Termites is indicating you got way too much cellulose in that soil.
Yeah, that's
what they live on.
There's something going. I mean, they are both beneficial and they are a problem. Now, if you've got a huge hugelkultur mound, expect to see termites. That's just going to be natural. If you're talking about, well, I did a raised bed of 2 feet, with 2x4s or what have you, and the termites are eating away at that, well, that's a slightly different problem.
Yeah.
And you want to start treating that lumber with linseed oil and mineral oils that are going to drive those bugs away. There's natural ways to do this stuff. You can sweeten it with molasses and drive them away. That's just going to, feed the organic life that much more. But there's ways around it in Mother Nature.
All right.
That's a great tip.
Hey, Keith, welcome in. All right. I'm going to go ahead and throw it up here right now. So the book is The Green Wizard's Guide. It's on, this is the Amazon link for it. The paperback is $13.95, and it's free to read if you have Kindle Unlimited, or it's $7.95 to buy on Kindle. So
yeah,
I've read it several times. I got it on my Kindle. I've read it, go through it. Okay, I missed something. I got to go back and I start reading it again, and I pick up something again because Ron, he's a comic when he writes. he uses comedy to teach.
Nice.
What is
honey, you don't understand. I am the worst gardener in the world. I can screw up a light bulb. But when you let Mother Nature teach you, and I put all of that in the book, I let you know I screwed up. Oh boy, did I! My neighbors had words for me, and well, I can't repeat them here because there might be kids around. But I screwed up bad. But I also screwed up the right way and learned from Mother Nature.
Mother Nature is the biggest teacher.
I can take a single tomato plant and get that thing to grow 19 feet long with no trellis, no training, and get 600 pounds of tomatoes off it. And everybody rants and raves and wants to know, where's their tomatoes this year? I'm doing something right. And
that's like I told Gil the other day.
Tell me what I'm doing right. See, one of the things a lot of people don't understand when they're looking at their soil, just like with dandelions, did you know that the dandelion is actually there, and it's Mother Nature's way of producing, of all things, calcium for your soil?
Yeah.
When you have a lack of calcium, that's when you're going to start seeing dandelions pop up. That's why dandelion tea and dandelion leaf salad is so good for us. There's actually
Dandelion wine.
reasons for it. But you want to address that issue when you've got too many dandelions? Apparently, you don't have enough calcium. Go get some seashells. Get them down in the soil. When the conditions change, you don't have dandelions anymore. You're weed free.
Right.
See, I appreciate people that teach by humor. I told Gil, the reason I make jokes, the reason I come up with funny characters like the other day on Tactical Tuesday, you ain't going to learn something unless it's funny, because then it's going to stick in your head. And that's the best way to learn. And now I'm even more psyched to go get Don's book and read it. No offense, it's free on Kindle, so it might be a Kindle version first, you know.
Yeah.
I'm a cheap bastard, so.
All right. Gira's making a joke here, but the joke actually has some validity to it. I mean, you get your dandelions, you get your mushrooms, you get your other plants. There are a lot of plants that grow naturally that people think are weeds that are very nutritious, and you make yourself a salad, or you make yourself some sort of a sandwich. You have a couple strips of your bacon on there or whatever else, and you have a delicious meal.
Back when America was just being settled, dandelions were common everywhere, in every freaking dish, in every medical tincture. You don't know how valuable that dandelion weed is. When I see dandelions in my yard, when I actually had a yard, I was a happy mofo. I was really happy about the dandelion.
Right, but what I'm saying is it's a direct indicator of a problem in your soil.
Too much of it, is a bad.
And if you start paying attention to these things, just like if you start seeing a lot of clover in your yard, you don't have enough nitrogen.
Too much of anything is a good thing.
No,
I'm sorry. Too much of anything is a bad thing. I'm
right.
sorry.
So, I've been out here and preaching this for 3 years since I released the book, and people are still like, wow, why haven't I heard about this? I've been here. I don't know.
Well, even the kind of grasses that grow, like you look at our new property and it's all broom sage. And, I need calcium. I need lime and, and things like that. It's missing in my soil. So
yeah, your problem is that you got 160 acres to deal with.
Oh, I wish I had your problem.
Yeah.
Before I could even get my certification, I had to sit there and look and name off 20 different types of grasses and what it is that they thrive off of. So understand what's growing around you guys. That's the big thing. Nature is telling you so much by what's just growing out there right now without you even touching anything, that there is no reason that in a half acre to an acre, I'm going to say a half acre, you shouldn't be able to feed your family constantly. And I'll say a family of 4. I'm a family of 1. A half acre for me would be an abundance.
Yeah. So I have a question.
Sure.
So I'm starting new beds, and I was planning to do the hugelkultur method. That's how I started in Oregon. And, and do a little bit of a raised bed. I've got clay soil. Do you have any suggestions?
Right. She's now in Tennessee.
I'm in Tennessee. Yes. I went.
You have high moisture. You're going to have high moisture out there in Tennessee in the soil. So I'm not thinking hugelkultur would be the most ideal for you, because that's going to retain a lot of moisture and maybe an excess of moisture. But I'm gonna defer over to Don down there, Ron, and let him answer more.
Yeah.
Okay. So you want to do raised beds. How high are we talking about? Are you talking about removing the soil from the contact with the earth type raised bed and going 2-3 feet in the air? Or are we talking about a foot or so off the ground?
A foot or so off the ground.
Okay. So you do want to go hugelkultur.
Okay.
Absolutely. And in the entire area around all of that, believe it or not, and this is what I was waiting for her to come back for, you want to go out and find yourself a supplier, and I usually say go to the feed store, and you want to get your hands on Epsom salt from Epsom, England.
Okay.
In moderation, and you're going to need this when you get to Alaska. In moderation, by handfuls, go around your garden and go to the base of your garden before you start building the hugelkultur mound, and throw down the Epsom salt.
Okay.
Because it will start breaking down the clay. It will start softening the clay and turn it back into dirt.
Okay.
That's also going to stop the solid, hardcore flooding and or standing water and or too much excess moisture. It's going to give the water somewhere to go. And the deeper you get that salt, the better off your garden is going to be.
How thick would you do the salt?
I'm sorry?
How thick would you do the salt?
Not thick, handfuls.
Okay. Okay.
Throw it. Just throw it and cover it. Throw it and cover it. Like
Okay.
you're salting ice on a driveway.
Or you're baking. A pinch will do you.
Right.
Okay.
Understand, it is not salt. Please, everybody, understand. It is a bunch of minerals in a certain volume. I don't know the absolute measurements. It is minerals. The combination of minerals softens soil, softens clay, and allows root growth and penetration once again.
Okay.
Think about it like your skin, and the doctors are always telling you, and your wives, and soak your feet in Epsom salt and get rid of those calluses. Your feet are too rough. You got to do this, child. You got to, come on, really. It works on the soil too. It's exactly the same thing. You put this stuff down, and it's going to start softening the soil. The organic life that is going to be prevalent in your area is going to start going active again. What you're going to want to also do as you're building the hugelkultur mound is sugar. Honey child, you're going to need some sugar. And I don't mean, I don't need to go get a bag of sugar. No. Deer grade molasses. Again, go to the feed store. And you want to spray that down mixed with water. Doesn't matter how much. You could put it down straight. It'd be a bit harsh, and it's going to smell like cookies for a while. But you want to get that sugar down in there. So as that starts migrating in and all of that life starts breaking down, everything that you put down as your hugelkultur mound, your leaves, your grasses, your trees, your twigs, whatever, even pine, it won't matter. It's all going to break down over time. You don't want pine needles because of the sap. You don't want pine needles because of, I understand all of that. But when it breaks down, it also still releases a mineral.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And in soil like mine, I want the pine needles because I am very alkali here. I mean, I'm like a 10 or 11 on the scale.
See, and that's another thing you want to think about in your hugelkultur mounds. A lot of people ignore this. And again, this is in the other book that I'm not sure I'm releasing, and it's for gardening, is, believe it or not, you want to go out and get barbecue briquettes. Yeah, you want ashes.
Yeah.
You want charcoal. You
Well,
want
we're
to
going to
get
burn
that
a
in
lot
there.
of wood.
It's a sponge. It's full of minerals, and it's a sponge.
Mm-hmm.
It will soak up other minerals. It will soak up water. It will give the organic life someplace else to exist. So not only is it a water filtration system that is perfect, that will clean any water that's coming in, it's also going to sustain life. And that's going to make your plants thrive that much better without you watering. Now, if you follow the Green Wizard's guide and you do your things with your soils, and you're not going to have weeds in your beds either, because it eliminates them. It wipes out all weed seed. And then it provides nitrogen. And it's the same product. But you got to get the guide. I'm not going to tell you what it is.
And the guide is well worth it. Like I said,
everybody's like, wait, weed, what?
You mentioned hugelkultur for her in Tennessee. The reason I kind of ruled that out is because I know well, based upon where I'm at right now, okay, in Arizona, hugelkultur would be a godsend. That would be the way to go. The land out here is very dry, very sandy. The
Right,
moisture
Albany.
is
It's the
not going
same.
to be kept very well. However, in Tennessee, you're going to get more rain, and I'm more worried about things like root rot and things like that. Too much moisture being in the soil itself, even
Right.
though
But
she
as
has
the
a clay
salt,
type soil.
but as the salt soaks in and starts softening the soil, the roots go deeper. Other life comes in and aerates the soil, creating, instead of clay, it turns to soil. As the hugelkultur breaks down, it turns that soil into topsoil. And it's going to get deeper and deeper and deeper over time. As
You
she
see, even
treats
I
the
learned something.
yard, like I said, as you treat the yard the same way as you treat your garden, as you continue to put the salt out further and further in the yard, the entire yard is going to become that way. And you're going to start attracting a lot of these ways to get that water to absorb, soak in, saturate, stay, and run off. So your standing water situation is going to go away very quickly as the clay starts to open up and become soils again.
See that, and that's what I really wanted you to explain. When I was studying horticulture, hugelkultur wasn't really, it wasn't mainstream like it is now. It wasn't really known 20 plus years ago, as well as it is known now today. So that's why I said hugelkultur may not be a good idea. But now that what you're saying, knowing how salts react with water, the whole chemical process, now I can actually see what you're saying.
This isn't salt, though. This is a bed of minerals. That's
Well, salt being a mineral.
Yeah. The one of the things here I want to address here real quick is Albany Mountain's question down here about biochar more beneficial than charcoal.
okay. Charcoal is a process where they are crushing together, and in some cases, they're adding chemicals to make it burn faster. And da da da. You're 100% right. Charcoal. That's why I said lump charcoal. They don't treat lump charcoal with the chemicals, nor do they compress it and cause the problems. Lump charcoal is more biochar. And yes, you're absolutely 100% correct. Biochar is far more beneficial for all sorts of conditions. Add it to everything, whether it be your gardens, your flower beds, or your compost piles. Add it. Get it in there. It's a sponge. It will hold on to so many things.
And what he's saying about the charcoal is the natural charcoal. There's a difference between charcoal briquettes. Those have chemicals and glues and binders added to them.
Right.
Okay. What he's talking about is the charcoal that just comes in big old lumps. It's basically all it is wood that has been gone through the process of being not
Biochar.
burnt.
Okay,
Yeah,
let me jump in here, guys.
Yeah.
Let me jump in here. All right. I think when he said what Ron was talking about charcoal, you can buy the hickory charcoal for your thing, which is basically they take the hickory, they heat it up in a oxygen poor environment so it doesn't flame up and it just chars.
Yeah,
that's basically your biochar. Now,
Yeah.
Anthony at Palmetto Prepared about 3 weeks ago did a video on how to make your own charcoal for water filters or for your garden. And he has a nice video on it in small amounts, how to do it in small amounts. So you can do it in bigger amounts.
Uncle Al, you're late.
Yeah, he's been
We covered that already.
Okay.
You're going to have to go back and watch.
You can do, if you build a pit, throw a bunch of boards, branches and stuff in there, start burning it, cover it up with dirt, and smother it. And in a day or two, after it's burned all the air out, you dig in there, you got charcoal, a lot of it, and you can use that for feeding your garden, for feeding everything on it.
You can use charcoal to purify water with.
Yeah,
we use it in distillation of spirits a lot.
Mm-hmm. All right. So jumping back to the main topic.
So, getting back to the main topic, if you're talking about 200 square feet per person in a family of 4, so you're talking about a 20-foot by 40-foot, you have to understand that all of the different plants that you're going to consume in a year's time have to be grown. And that each one of these plants, not only does it have its own mineral requirements, it also has its own growth cycle. So you've got early spring planting, you've got mid-spring, fall, so that these things are coming into production just in time so that you can start putting in your fall plants, your squashes and what have you. It's not crop rotation. I'm still not remembering the darn word for
Yeah.
But
yeah.
You have to understand the cycles, and you've got to work that garden the entire time so that you're continually pulling production off. Now, you can stagger the same plant by 2 and 3 weeks so that you're not having to harvest the same thing and can everything at once, and give yourself time to do all of the prep work.
So basically, I had to do some research just to get the measurements in the square feet. But basically what Ron is saying is a regular plot of land, a regular house could very easily produce more than enough food to sustain you for a year easily. I mean, 1/10, 0.1 acres, okay, is 4,356 feet. The average house being 1,000 square feet. So there's 3,000 square feet for you to play with in your yard. So yeah, you could very easily in a single house, in any rural America, be able to grow enough food to sustain yourself.
Right, but where we got sidetracked in all of this was my explanation of it's not necessarily the size of the garden, it's the health of the plant.
Exactly.
And what the plant is actually giving you. The NPK process, which is what so many of us, and I hate to say it, but a lot of the farmers today are forced to use the NPK process, only has 12 minerals, vitamins and minerals going into the foods, and we need 90.
Well,
There's a better way, guys.
Yeah.
If you just use nature and you just use trees, twigs, grass, leaves, you're going to be giving yourself more minerals than the NPK process, and you're going to be giving yourself healthier food. So when we sit back and we say that the national study said as of 2021 that a family of 4 can live off a 20 by 40 garden, not if they're all vegetarians and the food value's terrible. Yeah. It's not going to feed the family.
And that's
when
the
thing soil's right and the conditions are right. And Green Wizard's Guide can get you there, but so can Mother Nature. If you use what's around you, you can turn that 20 by 40 into enough food to feed 8 people and be sharing it with others.
One thing I hit with Gil a couple of streams ago is that your soil can change 5 feet away. Even a foot away, your soil can be different. So you need to treat everything as a whole, not as just a help me out here. You need to treat the whole and not just the part.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do a 20 by 40, you better double that and treat that whole area.
That's why I say treat the yard.
Treat the whole yard.
Yeah.
Treat the yard. Treat the yard as the same way you treat your garden.
And that's one of the reasons I wanted Ron up here, was to talk about the health of the yard, the garden, everything. Because a healthy yard, garden, if everything's healthy, you're going to be producing a lot more food than you thought.
Yes. Oh God, yes.
Who was it, Ron, that did that for his lawn? Did your process on his lawn, and then started cussing you out because he was having to mow, like every other day because his grass was just going so healthy and just growing.
Jerry's Woodworking and Supplies.
Yeah, Jerry. Yeah.
He burned up 3 lawnmowers trying to keep up with his yard because he had to be away working. He'd come home on the weekend, and the yard had grown back so much better and so much stronger that it was burning up regular cheap Kmart lawnmowers. He had to actually invest in something that could actually cut through it. And he had never seen fruit production from a fruit plant he had there 12 years. And it was producing fruit that first year. And he'd never had it before. The soil opens up and feeds. It'll feed a family. It'll feed the worms. It'll feed the microbes. It'll feed everything when you treat it correctly.
Now I'm going to go to somebody here, Ron, that you're gonna cringe at. Some people have container gardens, so they have these 15-gallon containers on their apartment patio and stuff like that. Those type of things you still need to try to complementary three sister type plant. So you're even though it's in a pot, you have one plant adding this, and they're taking out different things. But like one of the questions there is, some of those, you almost have to, you may have to rotate what you're planting in a container to, so you don't have, no? Okay.
No.
I'm going to shut up and I'm going to listen to Ron because I know he's going to talk.
Okay, go on this, Ron.
Okay. Now I know we're over your hour time, and I'm sorry, but there's so much to cover here. And if you guys want to keep asking questions, I'll keep going. We're 4 hours past my bedtime because I'm a snowplower. I've got to be up at midnight. But anyways, when you're talking about container gardening, yes, you're talking about doing something on your porch, what have you, if you got the right sunlight, if you got the right balance of this, right balance of that, and you every plant is pulling minerals out of your soils in these containers. I hate these things because they freeze too easily. That's why I shake my head every time somebody says, I'm going to go with a raised bed garden and get my soil up so I don't have to bend. And they remove it from the earth, and then it's not wide enough. So there's all this stuff that goes into the next book. And regardless, if you're supplementing your minerals, if you're getting the 90 that you need in your soil, you can probably plant those same plants in those pots, in those containers for the next 5 years, and they're still going to give you the same nutritional value because you've put abundance of minerals in there, all 90, if not more, and everything is available. What you're worried about is making sure that you have enough active microbial life, stuff for them to eat. As you control all of the conditions in these containers, and you got to watch your water, and you got to watch your moisture, and you got to watch this, and you got to watch that, and you don't want the soils to be seeing sunlight, so you got to keep that covered, which is going to increase your soil, and then it heats up, and then there's all sorts of balancing tricks that go with these things. The idea that you have to rotate and change out is incorrect.
Okay.
When you have the same plants going into the same soils repeatedly, they're running into exactly the right microbial life that is going to go get the right minerals for that plant every single time. The plants will get stronger and healthier because they still have the microbial life that goes dormant after 50 degrees. And it just disappears in the soil. So you can continue to plant the same stuff again and again and again in the same spot and never worry about pulling the roots out and throwing them away. You don't need to disturb your soils. You do, however, need to keep replenishing organic life and the mineral base.
All right,
now you
on
can
the mineral
feed
base.
the organic life by running alfalfa, by running the Three Sisters method, and allowing things to reroot and grow and do what have you. And that's why some weeds are beneficial, because as you kill them, it leaves more organic matter to be breaking down in the soils, and giving you that stronger base. You have to have organic life, live and dead, in your soils. Most people are lucky when they send out their system, and some of the biggest dogs in this arena on YouTube are reporting in saying, well, I have 5%. I finally reached it after 5 years of da 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 da. And then you go and you listen to the no-till guys, and they've got 12 and 15 and 30% after a year, because you're not removing the roots, you're not disturbing your soils, you're allowing the organic life to get in there and do its thing. So yes, crop rotation, no. Mineral supplementation, absolutely.
On mineral supplement, there was something you mentioned when you were on my live last time about a year and a half ago. Was it green sand? It was one of these sort of mineral-rich soil conditioners. Contains potash, other minerals and stuff. I thought I had some other. You named a couple different ones that you can get like.
Well, they're in the book. I'm not going to tell you what they are here.
I know. I'm just.
They're in the book.
I know the others are in the book, but I wasn't sure if green sand was one of those ones, because I know.
Gaia Green Sand Minerals, and there's another company that produces the same thing. These are glacier created mineral base scraping. That's the ice flow coming down through Canada thousands of years ago when the world froze over, and scratching all of that stuff together. It dumped it in oceans, it dumped it here, it dumped it there. Gaia Corporation in Canada is one of the biggest companies that harvests those minerals for us.
So get all the information on that. You got to get the book. And once again,
you posted.
There's the book.
You posted a comment from Kaylin that I got eggshells in my compost last year. Also busted up some mussel shells and added them. I have understand, I'm coming from a point where I'm doing more hydroponics. I have to do hydroponics because I don't have space. Now,
but that's no reason to skip the minerals.
No, it's not. But what I'm going to get at is my water is so hard and nasty. I use calcium. I use busted up seashells for my water, for everything, including the hydroponics, because it softens the water. It makes what I add into the water a little bit better. And yes, adding eggshells, fish, any product of a fish guts, entrails, fish scales, fish heads, if you add those into your compost, they are so beneficial to you as a gardener out gardening, but it's also beneficial to me when I do hydroponics, because I want that nasty stuff in there. And yes, it's nasty dealing with it.
Okay. Carol at Fishes and Loaves Lives is going live in 19 minutes. So I'm going to wrap this up. So folks, more information, get the Green Wizard Guide off of Amazon. For Ron, Ron has a lot of information in there. This is my last Friday night on the Homestead. I'm combining Friday night with Monday night. So I'm doing all my stuff over on Monday. It's a little bit earlier for some of you that can't make it this late. So it'll be only on Mondays. So coming up this Monday is Valentine's Day, and the topic is going to be love homesteading style.
No, I shake my head. Because it's my birthday. I'm just tired of Valentine's Day.
Gail, before you go further, I have to say, people, I'm a very big supporter of suicide prevention. My brother committed suicide, and understand holidays and Valentine's Day are a very big impact to those that suffer from depression. So please just tell everyone that you see or you meet, hey, you matter, I love you. You would be surprised at how far those 3 words are going to uplift somebody. Yeah. And I have to say it because, again, my brother committed suicide. I've known 4 people in my lifetime. Okay, that's 4 too many that have killed themselves. So
Yeah.
please take the time, whether you mean it or not, just tell somebody, look, you matter and I love you.
All
There
right.
was a question asked.
Absolutely good.
Duncan asked a question about changing people's diets and getting people to understand the good foods, the bad foods, what have you. When you start eating vegetables out of the garden that have the supplements and have the right mineral mix that the plant actually knows it needs, you stop craving the garbage.
Yep.
People's
Yeah.
diets change naturally because they no longer have the cravings. There's a
Exactly.
gentleman, I'm not going to say his name. He's been dealing with health issues his entire life. He's a huge homesteader, and I mean huge. And his entire family is nothing but vegan, nothing but vegetarian. And everything that could go wrong is going wrong for this guy. He stopped and he listened to his doctor and he went on a meat diet and he started the carnivore diet. And everything that was wrong with him went away because he was mixing all of what God has given us, the meats, the fruits, the vegetables, and doing it in quantities, doing it correctly. The cravings went away. The need for 3 meals a day went away. His energy levels went up, and all of his medical problems went away in a year's time.
Here's the thing
It
people
can
don't
happen.
understand.
People just need to understand when you're eating the right food and it's nature's way, you're not going to crave anything else and you're going to get everything you need. You've never had a tomato. If you lived off grocery stores, you've never had a tomato. In 30 years, 40 years, they haven't been
exactly.
Yeah.
First of all,
there. They haven't been there. When you pull one out of my garden, you're in for a surprise.
there is a difference between animal protein and vegetable protein. Second, when you buy your groceries, you buy those vegetables from the grocery store. Those vegetables are not at ripe. They've been picked before they're even ripe because they're going to allow that shipping time to get them to market in order for them to look nice and rosy red and beautiful. When you pick
Bananas
them
are packed in a chemical warehouse and sprayed so that they turn yellow.
Exactly, because the chemicals ripen
Exactly, Jordan.
the vegetables. When you pull them from the garden when they're ripe, they're ready by nature, not by man.
Right. So, dear, did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you so much.
We've got probably just enough time for maybe one more question if it's a short answer, because I could keep going all night. And I can go live. I can turn my channel on if people want to find me.
Yeah. Well, I know most
and
of
it's
us,
entirely up to you guys.
Yeah,
Ron,
most of us are going over
to sit down and we're going to have to
Carol's.
set up a time for us to go live because I think we could go 2-3 hours on gardening. Easily.
I can go now. I'll just go make another pot of coffee.
Yeah. All right.
We may have to do that.
All right. Waiting for someone to fire off another question. I want to just give coming attractions here. So Monday nights, 8:30 Eastern is my Monday night Fireside chat. Tuesday at 10 Eastern on Tactical Tuesday is going to be make your own survival food supplies. And we're going to be talking about, trying to keep, making survival foods out of your garden. Thursday is on Thursday Talk at 10 o'clock Eastern is the scenario-based event. And that one is after the asteroid hits, what's your plans? All right. And then, of course, there will not be another Friday. This is the last Friday I'm doing. I'm not sure who's going to jump in here, whether Bruce may wind up going longer on his, and Carol may move hers up a little bit, and they may meet in the middle. So we'll see what happens going forward here. But 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock Eastern time is basically going to be open here for anybody else going to do it. Anyone make their own plant food? There's a question right there.
That's a baseline composting. It's simple.
Yeah.
And you just amp it up with the solutions from the book.
Yeah.
Because I do hydroponics, I do teas and things like that. So I don't really do compost.
Actually,
I do some compost.
there's
to
your
get
answer.
tea.
You'd answered it, honey. Just go get yourself a fish tank, and when you clean that fish tank,
Yeah.
you've got plant food.
Yep.
And before Gil ends everything, I just want to give a shout out in the chat. If Ron is willing, I'm more than willing to open up a live special just for to talk with Ron and get more information out of him. He is a powerhouse of knowledge, and I'm always for knowledge. You guys know me by now. Knowledge is power. The pen is the sword. Knowledge is the shield.
Okay, so I'm going
Leave
to
it
go
to a
ahead and wrap
vote,
this
I
up
don't
here. I'll let these two talk afterwards here and figure out what they're going to do. And so I just want to remind everybody, stay happy no matter what life throws at you. Don't get
Amen.
depressed. Don't let it get you down. Stay safe. Don't go out and do anything foolish. You know,
Now wait a minute.
Being
and
foolish is part of being human.
okay, and most important of all, add to your preps water, food, medicines, knowledge. You know, knowledge helps you build a better garden. And so, you know, everyone, if you don't have a garden, plant one this year. Even if it's a small one. Kayla's Drain in an apartment planted a bunch of pots on her little balcony there, and she has some good stuff. And there it is. I'll throw it up big, Ron. Here, let me throw it up big. Boom, there it is. The Green Wizard's Guide has a lot of good answers in there. Oh, and in the paperback version, there are several empty blank pages in the back for you to make notes on. And he references several of his videos as well to get more information. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Ron and Ray, stick around for a minute afterwards. And you'll keep an eye out on Ray's Fat Man Prepper if he's going to do something here in a couple minutes here. So
Yeah, I was going to say, watch for Ray's page, because if we're going to come up live, we're coming up over there, guys.
And that's Fat Man Prepper. All righty.
You see on my screen, Gil, if you can
Hang on.
maximize my screen there a little bit, you guys can see the YouTube. It's Man in a Can. Fat Man Prepper, you know, I'm always here for everybody, no matter what. I have the ICQ set up. We're all set. Anytime you want to talk.
All righty. All right. I'm going to end this now. So I will see you guys later.
Thanks, Gil.
Yep.